I, female 24, have been a vegetarian for 10 years, and I find that Indian food has some of the best vegetarian dishes. So that is what my diet mostly consists of, although I do love cooking vegetarian food from different cuisines as well. So for the past month or so, after my friend, female 36, started a new job, I have been looking after her kids, all boys 6, 7, and 9 years old, from 11:30 to 4, Monday through Friday, as she works from 12 to 8 p.m., and her husband, male 42, from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and they can't afford childcare. I don't take any money from them for this, as I know they both work minimum wage jobs and do struggle, so I'm happy to help out where I can. During the time that the kids are with me, they have lunch and a snack. Since I'm cooking for everyone, it's usually Indian and vegetarian, although I do tone down the spices for lunch since they are kids. And for a snack, I give them fruits or chips or sandwiches with juice or milk. The kids love the food and always leave a clean plate, and the older one usually goes in for seconds as well. I have had no issues so far. Well, yesterday, my friend came over to my house and started berating me for starving her children and poisoning them by not feeding them normal food with meat in it. She demanded that I start cooking them proper food with meat, only using salt, pepper, and garlic, or she would call Child Protective Services on me for child abuse and neglect. Apparently, her kids now don't want to eat the food she and her husband cook and say that it's bland, and keep asking for my food and that it's all my fault. I refused and told my friend that I will no longer be able to watch her children, and now she's even angrier with me. And both her and her husband are calling me an a-hole and saying that they don't have any other childcare options. It's not a question of being able to afford the meat, as I work from home as a software developer and have a lot of free time throughout the day as well. But the food I cook has plenty of protein, carbs, and fats, and all other macros, and the children have never asked for meat either. Am I the a-hole, and should I just buy meat and let the kids make like ham and cheese sandwiches for lunch? I feel guilty that they will struggle to pay for childcare if I don't take care of the kids. Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. Well, I am Indian and a vegetarian, and never have I been starved because I eat that. If they don't want their kids to eat that food, good for them, their choice. They can't force you to make non-vegetarian food for their kids and babysit them for free. It's your choice, stick with it. In my country, some vegetarians can't even stand the smell of food, forget making it for someone. Heavy entitlement the parents have. Shame they can't stand to make their kids eat the food the kids obviously like. Not the a-hole. What is she going to do? Call Child Protective Services and say that her free childcare provider isn't feeding her children meat? If she hadn't flown off the handle and just talked about how the kids preferred your food, I would have offered to show her how you cook, but she went nuclear immediately. You don't get to treat someone who is helping you out like absolute garbage. Make demands of them and then get upset when that person ceases providing free support. This is why you do not bite the hand that feeds. In this case, delicious vegetarian meals. If the parents were that concerned, the least they could do is provide lunch when the children were dropped off. Either this isn't real, or you're friends with a couple of complete morons. They want to risk losing free childcare because their kids eat more vegetables and spices now? How are they going to report this to Child Protective Services? You people have to do something. Our babysitter is feeding our children a more varied diet and introducing them to new foods. It's abuse. They would have to lie through their teeth to even try to make it sound bad. And Child Protective Services doesn't like liars. Not the a-hole, obviously. I think it must be your friends who are malnourished from all that bland food, since their brains seem to be struggling with basic cognitive function. My older brother, OB, is a bit of a bum. It's mean to say, but it's true. He can never hang on to a job for longer than a couple of years, max, and when he inevitably loses whatever job he had, he starts smooching off family and friends until he can find another job months later. This entails him freeloading at their place, eating their food, using their stuff, etc. He's lost friends because of how long he bummed off of them, and I don't blame them for cutting him off. Well, this last time he lost his job, he went to our parents, but they didn't have room because they were letting our eldest brother's EB family stay with them after he and sister-in-law lost their jobs out of nowhere within the same month. EB's entire crew was laid off with zero warning and sister-in-law's work burned down. and they couldn't afford the home they were renting anymore. So OB was pretty much out of luck. So our parents, aunt, and uncle all started calling me asking if I'd take him in, just long enough so he could get on his feet again. I, stupidly, let myself feel bad for him and said okay. But he only had a few months to get another job or he was out on the street. They all said, of course, and so he came to stay with me. And it was a nightmare. He's a slob. He never washes dishes, never washes his clothes, and eats pretty much whatever he wants. I guess since I'm his little sister, he figured he could ignore me saying to get his crap together. Well, after 6 months, I told him he had to go, and gave him a couple weeks to find somewhere else. Well, it seems he called our parents and cried about me kicking him out, and they told him he knew he couldn't stay forever. But they also, of course, called my aunt, uncle, and told them all about it. And my busybody aunt called me and scolded me for being cruel to my brother and abandoning family when they need help. I let her talk, and finally said she was right. Helping family was important, and I'm glad she showed me that. She seemed glad I understood the right thing to do before hanging up. So I followed her advice and packed my bro up and drove him to her house. I couldn't take care of him anymore. He was running all my bills up. But my aunt made a good point. Family should help each other. So I dropped him off there. She has room since all her kids moved out, and then left. But I wasn't even halfway home before I was getting multiple calls from my parents and aunt. Parents were demanding to know why our aunt was blowing up their phones, and aunt was leaving voicemails shouting at me to come back and get my brother. I explained to my parents, and they said it was a good idea since aunt sounded like she wanted to help. But my aunt called me an a-hole and said she didn't want my brother there. And when I told her family helps each other, she called me a C-word. Last I checked, he's still living with her. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother has no respect for any family or friends. When someone lets you live with them rent-free, you better become their butler to show your appreciation. I'd be willing to bet he loses those jobs on purpose because he knows someone will take care of him. Your aunt should learn to mind her own business or be willing to help. I love your love. Not the a-hole. I find this a power move so much. I do wonder some stuff. So was your brother enabled a lot by your parents and family? I mean, currently, yes is the obvious answer. I mean, in childhood though, was he ever made to hold down responsibilities or given consequences for not being able to? If the answers are no, does your brother have something like ADHD? Because sometimes it looks like laziness when really it's executive dysfunction. Obviously, it could also just be people enabling him and he's lazy. But if it is ADHD, he needs to get help and maybe get advice or medication. None of this is my business and I don't care for an answer. Obviously, I'm a stranger. Just a thought for you and your family. But you are for sure not the a-hole at all. So me, female 26, and my husband, male 28, who I'll call Jake for this story, have been together for 5 years and married for 3. We have recently started trying for a baby as we both felt like that was the next step in our life together. And 3 weeks ago, I got a positive test back. We were really happy and told our families, and now my mom and mother-in-law want to throw a big baby shower for us. It was just super good news all around. Well, 2 nights ago, me and Jake were getting ready for bed when he reminds me to go through the house and make sure all the lights are off. Now, he can be a little lazy at times, and it has become a nightly routine for me to make sure all the lights are off that he leaves on before we go to bed. I wasn't feeling very well and asked if he could just do it since he wasn't doing anything and was literally standing by the door. He then tells me, no, this is what is expected of you every night. I was a little hurt, but I didn't want to fight with him, so I just did it. When I came back, Jake goes on this very long and unprovoked rant, saying things like, just because you are pregnant does not mean anything will change. And you are still expected to cook, clean, and do all the chores every day because how can you be expected to be a mother if you can't handle a little work? He wasn't yelling or anything. He was talking to me quietly like I was 2 inches tall. I was shocked because I have never heard him say anything like this. The rant went on for about 30 minutes before I interjected and asked, well, what do you plan on doing to help me with all of this? He then got extremely defensive, saying he works his butt off at his job to provide for me and what is going to be our future children. For context, I don't work at the moment. My job was not paying enough to justify me going, so I'm a full-time college student. He ended by saying that it doesn't matter how I feel physically or mentally. It is a mother's job to push through, and if he helped and babied me, I wouldn't be a good mother. I got extremely upset and started yelling, and I said that I wish I would have known this is how you felt before I got pregnant with your baby. There was a moment of silence before he started crying, and he left for the night to stay at his mother's house. He hasn't been back yet, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law have called me berating me and saying I broke Jake's heart with what I said, and I need to apologize immediately. And until I do, he isn't coming home. I don't know how to feel. So, am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband after he said he isn't helping me with anything during the pregnancy because it's a mother's job to deal with it? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. One thing that stands out is we aren't even talking about general housekeeping here. It's doing crap for a grown man he should be doing himself, as it sounds like it's the lights he turned on himself. Even if one believes in an arrangement where the woman has the general upkeep of the house and the child-rearing duties and the man is the breadwinner, that doesn't mean she follows him around turning lights on and off for him. Not the a-hole. Girl, abort mission and move on. This man has no empathy for you and will make your pregnancy and postpartum misery. He will demean you while you are puking, put you in pain when you are too large to move. God forbid you need bed rest due to complications. He would put your life and your baby's life at risk of death for some chores, and then wreck your mental health postpartum while you get no sleep and he contributes nothing at all, while screaming at you for not being able to do every chore with an infant attached to your breasts while operating on 45 minutes of sleep for a year at a time. This man is not mature enough to be a father and does not deserve a baby if he can step up for a sick pregnant woman who is only ill, vomiting, nausea, fatigue, because he put a baby in her. Don't sacrifice your body for the seed of a useless father with cruelty issues. He's showing you exactly who he is. Believe him. Not the a-hole. Don't apologize. He expects you to suck it up and do your wifely and motherly duties, but he is allowed to run to mommy? Where's the expectations for him? He may be scared how much things will change. That's fine. That's normal. Now, how he acted is not. You may sail through pregnancy with no problems. Some women never have nausea, barely get a bump, glow for 9 months, and defy logic that way. Others get HG, get hospitalized, have complications, and get put on bed rest, and generally get the short end of the stick. His first lesson as a dad: be flexible. He has no idea what the pregnancy will be like. One night you asked him to do one thing and he's lecturing you about his expectations from you? Yeah, this is a hill I will die on. No one gets to talk to you like that. It wasn't a discussion, he wasn't expressing concerns or fears. He lectured you about your chore list and the fact he won't tolerate any excuses from you or modify his behavior for his wife or children. Hard no. Update. A few of you asked if I told my mother-in-law and sister-in-law what he said, which I did. They basically said I was being sensitive and all he meant was pregnancy isn't an excuse to be lazy. He meant no harm, okay? I am getting some things together and I'm going to be headed to my mom and dad's house. My mom is furious with him and doesn't want me apologizing to him or talking to him without the situation either being recorded or having a witness. Regardless, I am okay and will be okay. I do appreciate all of you though. You have opened my eyes to many things I may have been ignoring or looking past over the years. I, male 26, and my fiancée, female 24, have dated for 3 years. In the last year, we've talked about marriage. She sent me rings she likes, and all she asked was that I don't tell her exactly when so it can be mostly a surprise. I got her the ring of her dreams and planned a whole weekend in the mountains, which is her favorite place. Her parents and mine traveled to be here, but stayed apart from us until after the proposal so she wouldn't get suspicious. The only people who came with us were a few of our friends, so I could call it a friend's getaway. One friend, male 27, is my childhood best friend. We're very close, and he knew the stipulation that my girlfriend not know when it was going to happen. He also likes to say things to get reactions out of people, and it has caused us to drift apart in the past. I thought he had grown out of this as he had seemed to mellow out. We got down there and one of our friends, female 24, who is a photographer, agreed to take the pictures as a gift. She told my fiancé that she just wanted to try out her new camera and wanted her to model for some pictures to see how it worked. About 20 minutes before we were set to go, our photographer friend came up to me and said that my friend had told my fiancé I was going to propose to her, and that our friend wasn't actually just trying out her camera. She had heard him tell her and said that my fiancé seemed upset and asked why he would ruin the surprise. I didn't say anything about it to my fiancé until after. She told me that yes, he told her right before. I went to him and asked why he told her, and he said because it was funny. He wanted to see her reaction, and the fact that he ruined it for her was funny to him. I told him it was unfair and childish. Me and my fiancé talked about it, and we decided to put him on probation period. Yet every chance we've given him to act better, he doesn't. He's only gotten worse, making inappropriate remarks when he visits, asking me if I'll ever get tired of the same thing in my bed every night, and overall ruining the few events we have had for our wedding. It's made me and my fiancé extremely upset. The last time I saw him, I told him that he acts jealous of my relationship, that he can't come to my wedding if he's going to act like this, possibly ruin our wedding too. That, as of right now, I don't want to see him coming at all or being part of my life. My parents and his are now upset that I'm letting his playful behavior ruin our friendship. They insist it's me who's jealous because he's single and free. They won't leave us alone about it. So, am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. What the hell is wrong with both sets of parents? Also, how would this even be the business of his parents or your parents? This was playful behavior? He wanted to see her reaction, and the fact he ruined it for her was funny to him. Do these parents know this? Why in the hell you have continued to let this guy be in your life is beyond me. This guy has some serious problems. Okay, back to the parents. You are jealous because he is single and free? So, in other words, you really don't love your fiancé and really don't want to get married? I can't even. Here's what I would do. Not only would this former friend of yours not be invited to the wedding, neither would either set of parents. I really don't know how they could be more insulting. Update. Me and my friend are no contact, for all suggesting.